You don't play Berserker to survive, you play it to end fights before they begin. And if you're doing it right, there's no retreat, no hesitation, no second phase of thinking. Just pressure and collapse. In this guide I'm breaking down everything that actually matters, how Berserker damage scaling really works under the hood, the breakpoints most players never reach because they build wrong, when to commit and when you're already dead if you hesitate, and how to turn the class from the high-risk melee into a controlled execution engine. The very first thing that we want to have a look at is what is the best gear for Berserker right now. So starting straight off with what is best in slot for Berserker, currently it is the Golden Crown, the Blade Standard, Chaos Reaver, Power Greaves, Power Gauntlets, Runeborn Visor, Power Plate, Power Shoes and the Knuckle Band. I'm going to break down why each is currently the best choice. So starting with the Golden Crown, we have got a helmet which gives 10% attack at plus 10 and 1 strength. Unfortunately, my example here got nuked by Chaos. Doesn't matter. Ideally, you're looking for strength, HP, attack on your rolls. The cards have to be double horror cards. You want to stack that crit damage as high as possible. The Blade Standard is the next choice here. 5% attack and 5 strength. Bearing in mind, we get attack from every pointing strength. It does make a huge difference there. Still, 1 card slot, again, crit damage. Next we have the Chaos Reaver. This is the undisputed king of the Cyclone build, and it also works well with Dark Claw, more on that later. Ideal rolls here, you want your crit damage, health leech, attack, damage melee. You can stack up multiple rolls of damage melee. Crit is nice, attack is nice, but ideally we want that big damage melee roll. It just depends on your luck. In terms of cards here, you want your element cards when you can. If you can't, you can double stack your damage melee cards. It's not a problem. The beauty of running a Berserker build is that we can diversify damage sources between damage melee, attack and crit damage. All of them are beneficial, and it is best to run a diverse range. Next we have the Power Greaves. The Power Greaves are a little bit different here. Mine have been again nuked by Chaos. But 5 strength, flat. It is no longer a scaling piece of gear, but 5 strength does still outscale the Plasma Greaves 10 attack, and it also outscales the Void Threads for this particular build. Void Threads do not benefit as much as the Power Greaves. I've tested nearly every single set of legwear in the game, and for Berserker at the moment the Power Greaves are still just on top. A lot of others do come close. This one, there is no dispute at all. The Power Gauntlets are the best in slot item by a mile. These are borderline OP. If they did have a card slot, they would be broken. 10 strength at plus 10 and 5% damage melee is huge. Acceptable stat rolls here: strength, attack, crit, HP, MP. Any combination of that, you're fine, run with it. Next, the Runeborn Visor. This does not give us much on paper. It is attack plus 5, that is minuscule, and 1% attack. It's not a lot. This really is just for min-maxing offensive damage here. You can see an example of a decent stat roll, prioritizing strength and attack yet again. The big one here is the card. I'm running a Cosmic card. When I am feeling like I need to be more tanky and robust, I swap the Cosmic Runeborn Visor out. I instead wear a Death's Grin mask. Both of these are available at the level 80 swamp, but they can only be crafted. You can't drop these. Power Plate, easy choice. Again, 10 strength at +10, and 10% HP. Easy choice, brilliant piece of armor, but there is nothing that gives as much value offensively as the power plate for Berserker. Best rolls here, healing received and HP. That healing received greatly improves our sustain, and it improves the effectiveness of using our healing skill Blood Crash. The power shoes, again, really good choice, no longer scaling. 5 strength, I have tested every other shoe in the game as it stands. This just ekes it out offensively as being the highest damage for this build. The only important stat here, frankly, is the 3 strength and the move speed. You do not need to worry about attack speed, you do not need a decent high roll on that, it makes no difference. As long as we are casting our skills in a reasonable, timely manner, you're fine. The Knuckle Band finishes off this build with a card slot, slapping in the Batlord cards so we don't have to worry about any MP issues at all. We have a perfect roll here with 3 strength, 2 HP, 2% attack, 5 crit. Clean, easy choice, and it gives us a little bit of versatility with the card. Now, you might be wondering what you can do as you're leveling up. You don't obviously want to go straight in for the power gauntlets. You can run 2 knuckle bands in the beginning, and there are multiple really good placeholder sets. We can get pretty decent results from the pirate set, but we can also get fairly decent results from the direwolf set, which can be farmed in the goblin village. This is also where we can get a hold of the skull hacker, which is one of the best early leveling weapons for a berserker, particularly if you're still a warrior, although I doubt it by this point. If you're grinding here comfortably, you're probably moving on already to building out the berserker. Just to quickly show you, the swamp wilderness here is where we are farming our runeborn visor and the death scrim mask, both excellent pieces of gear. Now, just to show where we're sourcing everything else here and other placeholder options. So we can farm for the winged helmet here in the goblin war camp. We're also going to get the power plate. The winged helmet is the best placeholder option for the helmet slot until you can get yourself a golden crown. The golden crown does actually also come from the goblin village, and you can get that from the boss here. It is absolutely a fantastic helmet. 30% drop rate on the boss, it's pretty generous. It doesn't take too long to get a few helmets, and you can start re-rolling them with your essences until you've got something that you're truly happy with. Sunken Depths and Turtle Nexus, that's where you're getting your shoes and your greaves. So the power shoes come from the Sunken Depths, and for the greaves we're just going to be crafting them or dropping them again from Turtle Nexus. I would leave these two until a little bit later. Turtle Nexus can be quite hard as a new berserker. Moving on to the Forge. The Forge is where we're dropping our power gauntlets and also the Chaos Reaver. You're probably noticing that there's a bit of a pattern here. There's quite a few spots where then there is more than one desirable bit of loot. Now, coming over to the Windy Desert here, this one, this is where we can get the Knuckle Band. So the Knuckle Band, you can craft them, you can drop them, I believe, from the Earth Golems, and I believe the Cactus as well. So there's a couple of mobs here which do drop the Knuckle Band. It's a fairly high drop rate at 3%. It's not crazy. The Cactus King, if you can farm him, 15%. And obviously, yes, you can craft it too. It shouldn't take you too long to get yourself a couple of decent Knuckle Bands. Now, if you want to diversify, it could be worthwhile to spend a bit of time up in Night Garden. Night Garden gives you the option to farm for the Trident of Tides. Also, the Greaves are a great durability option as they add all resistance plus 15%, effectively just flat out making you 15% more durable, bearing in mind we already have a fair bit of robustness and resistance as a berserker. This does cap it off, making a pretty significant improvement to our overall durability. It can be paired with the helmet, which is a good placeholder option, giving diverse stats, durability, damage, a little bit of everything. The one drawback to the Knight set is it does not have any card slots, so we are sacrificing a fairly meaningful amount of damage. Now the Blade Standard is unattainable for most people. It does come from the Goblin War Chief. It is a very low drop rate at 1%. So that's why we have the Totem Banner, which can be farmed. And the Totem Banner, up until you got yourself an absolute monster of a Blade Standard, the Totem Banner is the absolute choice for Berserkers. It reduces the overall cooldown of Fearsome Cry, allowing us to spam it every 4 seconds using a 4-second stun with a permanent stun uptime. This is incredible value and is often overlooked. It also increases the effectiveness of all of our shouts, making the buffs more effective. As an honourable mention, it's 100% worth farming early game level 28 mob, the Ironhorn cap, which brings huge value with 10% melee and a single card slot. This is such a strong early game helmet. Now swiftly moving on to the best choice of artifacts and your gems. There is not a whole lot of decisions to be made here. The Fury Brand set is the most versatile, well-rounded artifact set for Berserker. It gives us an enormous source of crit and crit damage, and pairing that with a Razor Gem gives an additional 15% crit damage. The Razor Gem is quite a hard one, coming from the Spider Queen in the Forge. Not an easy drop, but it's something which you can grind for over time. It is going to take some time, and placeholder gems like the Fearsome Cry Gem, Wild Charge Gem, the Earth Splitter Gem are all great gems to use until you can complete a set which looks something like this. The whole Fury Brand set, you're going to be wanting that Strength, HP, Attack. I'm pairing this with a Cyclone Gem for a huge 20% boost to the Cyclone damage, Execute Gem for the 20% boost to execute damage, and a Heart Gem which tops off your HP by 20%, which partially negates the Cosmic card. Reducing most of the drawbacks of using that card, we do still take a fairly significant hit to our MP, but it's making up for the bulk of the damage incurred there. The Fury Brand set is a fairly easy one to farm for. It is not a super difficult zone, although you might want to be using a water card when you come here. The Fury Brand set drops from all of the mobs here in Demon's Maw. Not a difficult zone. Definitely something which should be fairly comfortable for most Berserkers, as long as you're equipped correctly, rotating your skills effectively from level 70 or level 80 without too much trouble. Now the Heart Gem can be picked up here from the Goblin War Chief. Again, a rare drop at 0.3%. This one is going to take some time. I did briefly touch on the Spider Queen's Razor Gem. Again, super high value, and the Anchor Gem is also an absolute outstanding gem for PvP, but this is not a PvP guide. Coming now onto the Cyclone Gem, which is also farmed here in the Forge. Many of the mobs will drop the Cyclone Gem here. This one should not take you too long. If you are farming for your Gauntlets or for your Chaos Reaver, this should just be picked up for you without very much work. Lastly, we have the Execute Gem, which can be farmed here in the Dark Forest. Not that difficult of a zone to farm in. The Execute Gem is again dropping from a couple of the mobs here. Shouldn't be too much work for you to get one. And then, without a doubt, the best early game artifact set, and will run you all the way through to late game, is the Steelheart set. This set brings enormous value. In fact, in many cases it outperforms the Fury Brand set. It is so strong. It gives an enormous source of damage melee, which is hard to come by well into the late game. Damage melee cards will only give roughly 5% damage melee boost, whereas crit damage cards can give 10%. So having a huge competitive source of your melee damage bonus just from the artifacts alone can in many situations outweigh the Fury Brand set. It is worth considering that in many cases, when you are farming mobs in lower level zones where they do not have significant crit resistance, this brings far more value. But as we approach those endgame zones where many mobs have a high level of crit resistance, the Fury Brand set starts to outshine the Steelheart. This is an absolutely monstrous boost. Now, coming onto stats, as you're leveling, this does change. You don't have the same static stat distribution all the way through your gameplay. Really, where you want to begin is dumping everything into strength. You want to max that out. It's the bulk of our damage, and 100% of the damage scaling that comes from your axe for skill damage is based on strength. So you really want to maximize that strength as soon as possible. Next, I would recommend dumping up to 50 points into luck, followed by 50 points into vitality. The reason we're dumping 50 first earlier on is because it only costs 1 stat point each. Later, when you want to try and level to a higher level, that's when you're going to push to 100 luck if you can, and then the remainder into vitality. It should be stated that if you are actually running the dual wield build using the Trident of Tides, the Trident has to go into the dominant main hand, and the Trident scaling is 3% per vit and 3% per strength, so I would not recommend going as heavy into the luck for that build. I'd recommend going heavier into vitality. But for the two-hand build, you want pure strength, maximum luck to get the most out of your crit and crit damage, and then the remainder into your survivability bit stat. Now, bringing us into a swift close, it's important you understand how to level as a warrior, transition into Berserker, and then how to play endgame Berserker. And I'm going to try and break down what the most effective route is for a player to take. Starting off, you just want to rush your tree straight to Whirlwind, max it out at level 10, get your Stomp at least to level 1 and Axe Quicken to level 5. It is definitely worthwhile, then following up by maxing out Axe Mastery for bonus attack and crit, Honed Blade for an additional crit boost. If you are playing occasional dual wield builds, it is beneficial to max out the dual wield. Natural resistance will give you more survivability. The other skills here are luxury. You really don't need to try and max them other than to get the allowance to then spec into Berserker. As a Berserker, you need 1 point in Dark Claw to get started, but after that you're just going to make a rush for Cyclone, and the other early game skill which is making a big difference here is Fearsome Cry. Fearsome Cry is incredible, and you do want to max it early on, which is more than sufficient to keep your mobs stunned using the skill, followed up by Cyclone. Movement skills are useful, they are not dealing very much damage though. Wild Charge here and Earth Splitter are your movement skills in the Berserker skill tree. You can still use Stomp, so do not overlook Stomp as a mobility skill. It does deal some damage, it's also a stun. Saying that, Wild Charge is a stun too, so you have 3 effective stuns in your kit that can be used at any time. Earth Splitter is still useful, it does a significant movement speed debuff, it does the same debuff as Axe Throw, and it disables block. So if you're finding mobs to be blocking before you're attacking, an effective rotation early on is to Earth Splitter in, stun with Fearsome Cry, Cyclone for damage. Following up with that, if anything is still standing, the answer is Execute. Execute is our big burst skill, and it enables you to do a huge damage burst and deal with most mobs. Most early game mobs are not going to survive this. Late game, the only things that are still standing are giant mobs, and that gets easier and easier the better your gear becomes. Now, as for the passive skills here, it really depends whether or not you are playing as a two-hand Berserker or a dual-wield Berserker. Two-hand users use the Berserk skill, and dual-wield users are going to use the Blood Frenzy skill. This gives multi-strike, movement speed, attack speed limit. Very useful, it is super effective, and it gives huge boost to attack speed from the Frenzy passive. Now, there are other useful passives here, and as a Berserker you do get the opportunity to slightly flavour your damage depending on the situation. For example, we have Furious Shout, which at maximum level gives 20 crit, versus the Mighty Roar, which can give you 10% damage melee. Both of these can be boosted beyond the level 5 by using the Totem Banner, which will give you an additional 4% to any of the stats provided here, or an additional 8 crit. So it is worthwhile using the totem banner. You're getting more than just the skills here, you're getting passive stats as well from the buffs. Now, increased regeneration is a beautiful luxury to have. It's giving you passive HP recovered per second, and at level 5 it's giving you 1% health back every second, and additional passive HP regen. Blood Crash is your essential healing skill. This helps to negate the damage that is inflicted by having Rage. Rage can be increased by using Brutality, and for every point of Rage you are gaining 0.5% attack. All Berserker offensive skills do produce some amount of Rage, so you will notice as you're playing you're taking damage passively, and once you have 100 stacks of Rage you're going to be taking quite a lot of damage. Blood Crash is the cure. So Blood Crash neutralizes 100 Rage instantly, which negates any HP being lost. It gives 5% health recovery per second for 5 seconds. It also has another really beneficial effect. It instantly recovers 25% HP. The gloves, which provide an extra 2 levels, you're going to go up to 35% HP. This is very useful in PvP. Unyielding is your oh shit skill. Unyielding gives you 90% damage resistance, making you an unkillable god for 5 seconds. And at level 2, it has a reasonable cooldown of 20 seconds with a 5-second uptime. So there's 15 seconds down, 5 seconds up. That's a quarter of the time playing as a Berserker in God mode. Dark Claw used to be a very effective skill. It's been nerfed very heavily. It can still kick out good damage, and in some cases when you're DPSing on Test Dummy, for example, it can actually out DPS Cyclone. But unfortunately, it's not very user friendly in PvE generally. The reason being, you need to be in range to use it, and spamming this skill is difficult to time perfectly on your hotbar when you're also trying to move around. It's very useful when used correctly, but really it's a test dummy skill at the minute, or can be mixed into auto attack builds. I don't recommend using this typically. Axe Throw is a huge potential skill, as it triggers multi-strike. It's a ranged damage attack, but it is not the main focus of this build. Really, again here, it's a PvP skill where you're able to debuff movement speed very quickly and then gap close. Your target by that point is going to be heavily locked down, and you can try and finish them with a Cyclone and an Execute. Now, of course, once you have locked into this endgame build, you no longer need Whirlwind. You can remove all stat points from Whirlwind. I would recommend doing this pretty much as soon as you have your Chaos Reaver and Cyclone is at level 10. Now, I've had so many players asking me where to level their Berserker, and I'm going to try and give you a clear path so you know what route to take. Now, really, the main focus areas here, you're going to start off in Navaris. You're going to need to go through Sunny Meadows. I would recommend going straight to the Treant Trail afterwards. Treant Tree Evergreen drops an incredible card which gives 20% HP bonus to your chest. This is super useful, but this is also where you're going to be farming for the Steelheart rune set. This set is really easy to farm at 15% drop rate per mob. It's going to happen very quickly, no stress, piece of cake. Okay, from here you're going to be moving away from the Treant Trail. Some people do spend a little bit of time in the Festering Woods, just as an intermediate zone to level in. Windy Desert is just as good. From the Windy Desert, I'm going to recommend that you move up to the 26 to 30 zone, and you start farming for the Ironhorn Cap. The War Axe here is a nice early game upgrade from the Starter Axe. After that, we can come to the other Windy Desert, and we can immediately start farming for the Knuckle Band. Once you have the helmet from the Windy Desert, you're going to have the Ironhorn Cap, War Axe, Knuckle Bands. The Knuckle Band is an endgame item. I would recommend staying here until you have 2 of them. You can come down to Forgotten Depths and try to make your way through. I'm going to advise that you rush all the way through the layers of Forgotten Depths, leveling as closely as you can. If you're struggling to level in these zones, you can spend a bit of time in the swamp and the swamp is a good place to get early game EXP. Once you're ready for Goblin Cave, you're going to make your way through the Goblin Cave. Iron Reaver is another decent early game axe, it's okay. Really, why we are here is the Direwolf chest. The Direwolf set is possibly the best early game placeholder armor until you can replace it with your power set. So farming in these areas for a full Direwolf set, you can get the entire set from the Goblin Cave. Goblin Village is an upgrade. Skull Hacker is incredible as an early game axe, especially before you're a Berserker, but even as an early Berserker, if you're still utilizing Whirlwind with a +6 or a +7 on this could get you through up until you get your Chaos Reaver. The War Banner is also not to be overlooked. It's an excellent utility providing 5% melee damage, which is fantastic until you can get the Totem Banner. Now, at this point, I would be grinding here for quite a long time, especially if you are planning to go for the Golden Crown. It is going to require you to get a lot of the boss summons, which you're going to be looking for, the Glinting Goblin Fang. You don't need to go and get the Golden Crown as soon as you're here. The Ironhorn Cap is a great placeholder, and you can come back to this far later when you're ready to take on the boss. Now, if you're about level 70 or 80 and you've been grinding in the Goblin Village, it would be worthwhile focusing on coming up to Dark Forest, getting your Execute Gem as quickly as possible, and then doing the next few levels in Demon's Maw. Demon's Maw, really we want to just get that Fury Brand set so that you can start focusing on the Fury Brand, unless you have absolutely decided that you are going to stick it out with the Steelheart set. Both are competitive, they're just situationally better than one or the other, depending on whether or not you're fighting high or low level mobs. EXP, there is no better place to grind than the Abyss Castle Keep. There are not really any useful drops here, the essence drop rates are very good. There are some useful cards that come out of this. The Cyclops Bat card is a 5% melee damage increase, which can be slotted into your weapon. It is decent, and you're going to start seeing some crystals come in the drops, which are how you're going to push your weapons to +10 and your accessories. Now, you can spend as much time here as you like, but if you can grind Abyss Castle Keep, you've grinded up to maybe 110, you're probably ready to start grinding in the Goblin Maw Camp. I would recommend that you get yourself at least the helmet upgrade at this point. The winged helm on +10 is the point at which I would swap out the Ironhorn Cap. You don't need +10, +7 or +8 is plenty, but bear in mind that this is a scaling helmet and the Ironhorn Cap is not, it's just giving you that straight power. Also, the same goes for the power plate here, it's not better initially than the Direwolf gear. It needs to be enhanced to a reasonable level. You're going to start seeing gains and improvements around +8. I would not swap to it until you've got at least 2 or 3 pieces of the power set. Once you're here, you can come and get your shoes from Sunken Depths, and from the Forge you can get your gloves and the Chaos Reaver. You could push earlier into the Forge and get your Chaos Reaver nice and early. Perhaps you can pick one up on the market. I would look into what players are trading. The Chaos Reaver is the single biggest boost that you are going to feel during your progression in this class. It is worthwhile also, if you are happy to stick it out and grind here for a long time, you can come out and get your Cyclone Gem. You will be accumulating more and more crystals as you grind. The last piece that I would go and spend some time getting would be your Greaves from the Turtle Nexus. It is the highest level zone here and is usually the hardest place for many Berserkers to grind. There are annoying status debuffs like being frozen or knocked back in the Turtle Nexus, which can be very frustrating for newer players. With confident gameplay built around your stun, especially once you've got your Totem Banner, you can have 100% uptime on that stun, and it can turn Turtle Nexus into a trivial grind zone. Now, the one final message that I would like to leave with all players leveling their Berserkers whilst playing Spirit Vale is that you should not be wasting your time trying to focus on just leveling up. You need to grind no matter what, and you may as well be grinding for the gear that you need. The levels will come, and inevitably if you plan to play this game for any length of time, I can tell you that being level 150 is just a fraction of the total time grinding and a reflection of very little work. Leveling up to 150 does not take that long in the grand scheme of things. Completing your gear is going to take 10, 20, 30 times longer. So keep that in mind. We have huge pieces of content on the horizon, a couple of new pieces of gear which will be relevant to the Berserker class, and with those pieces of gear being introduced, there will be more testing, more adjustments to come. I will be continuing to make more content for Spirit Vale in the future, but as it stands, this is probably the most robust guide to playing a Cyclone active skill style Berserker. I will say that we can achieve slightly higher DPS single target by adjusting our skills, building for test dummies, sometimes, chucking on elemental effects and trying to crank out the maximum DPS. But this particular guide, it's really built around AoE farming. Berserker is not a great class at taking on bosses solo. I do not recommend this as the class for the job. You are going to have an easier time playing a Shinobi, a Paladin, potentially a Necro if you plan to do that. Gunslinger also absolutely shreds through many endgame bosses. If you intend to be killing bosses, maybe make an ult, maybe explore some of the other classes that this game has to offer. But playing as a Berserker, we can pretty much get the maximum out of general PvE. We are one of the most dominant general PvE classes with huge AoE farming, and we need to try to make the most out of that. I have spent some time testing the Axro build. I can confidently say, even though I've spent extensive time testing that, it did not compete with the Cyclone build. As it stands, the Cyclone build is the dominant PvE build, and if you're planning to play this game, make money, continue to develop your characters, gaining gear, you need a class which can shred through normal PvE. And Berserker does bring a lot to group content, which is going to be more and more of a focus in the future with its passive group buffs and also huge AoE farming. We do fit into a particular role, which is very effective. So I hope that everybody can enjoy the class, looking forward to early access and hopefully what the future has in hold for Spirit Vale. I look forward to seeing you all in the future.